So something pretty unexpected just happened in the 3.2 beta. Version 6 of the beta dropped, and we've got some notable changes to both Casteries and Anaxa. Some buffs, some nerfs, and some decisions that might honestly raise a few eyebrows. So if you're curious whether these changes make Casteries more tempting, or if Anaxa just got knocked off your wish list, let's talk through it. Save up to 23% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description. First off, Casteries, now this one genuinely surprised me, in a good way. If you've been following her kit since earlier betas, you'll remember her trace passive that gave her a speed boost when her HP was higher than her current HP. Kind of a weird condition, but workable in healing comps. In V6, that part stays the same, but there's a new addition. Now her summon, yes, the Netherwing, also gets a plus 100% speed bonus for one turn if it deals fatal damage. Not just a kill, but also when it drops an enemy into that non-reducible HP state. So, what's the catch? Honestly, this change screams pure fiction. The Netherwing becomes even more aggressive, especially in those long, multi-wave stages where tempo really matters. It's subtle, but if you've run those modes before, you know how huge extra speed can be for summons that keep acting. Casteries is already niche, but this buffs her in exactly the place she needed it most. But here's where things get crazy. Idolon 6. If you're someone chasing E6, which let's be real is a serious investment, this update makes it way more worth it. The original E6 already gave her increased quantum break effect penetration and added 3 bounces to her multi-sphere attack. But now, her summon can ignore weakness type entirely and still reduce enemy toughness, and when it causes a weakness break, it still triggers the quantum effect. Think about that. Even if the enemy isn't weak to quantum, she can still force a quantum break. That's huge for shield control, and makes her feel way more consistent in content like Memory of Chaos, where you can't always bring mono quantum. Of course, it's still locked behind E6, which limits how impactful this is for most players, but at least now, the E6 actually feels like a meaningful power spike rather than a small bonus. Now let's shift to Anaxa, because this one hurts a little. Let's start with the obvious. His skill and ultimate got nerfed. Straight up. The damage multipliers on both parts of his skill were reduced by around 10%, and the ultimate saw a massive approximately 40% cut to its damage multiplier. That's not a typo. 40%. That's a serious nerf to his burst potential, and makes his ultimate feel far less impactful in a DPS role. Especially if you were excited about using him as a carry, this definitely feels like a step backward. But not all is doom and gloom. His trace got a small buff in return. Previously, when he had at least one ally, including himself, he'd get critical damage, and if there were 2 or more allies, he'd give the team a damage dealt bonus. In V6, that team-wide damage bonus got boosted by 10%, which makes him a better support pick. That sounds okay on paper, but honestly, it feels like a consolation prize more than a balancing decision. If you remember back in V4, Anaxa was getting buffs that really started to push him into worth-pulling territory. He looked like a strong, flexible unit, capable of dealing decent personal damage while helping the team. But now, with his damage getting cut like this, it's hard not to feel like we're moving backwards. Sure, he's more supportive now, but is that really what people were excited for? I don't know about you, but that kind of shift always makes me second-guess whether the devs even have a clear role in mind for him. So, putting this all together, Casteries came out of V6 looking stronger, especially in pure fiction and for those who are chasing idolons. Her kit is leaning more into utility and consistency, and her summon just got a lot more dangerous. On the other hand, Anaxa took a noticeable hit in personal damage, and while he gained more team value, it might not be enough to keep him above the worth-pulling line, especially if you were excited about using him as a core DPS. Now, just to be clear again, these are all leak-based changes from the V6 beta, so things can still shift. But we're getting really close to release, and most of these adjustments are probably what we'll see in the final version. If anything changes, I'll be sure to cover it. Let me know in the comments, Are you still planning to pull for either of them? Did these changes help or hurt your opinion? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time with more updates. Save up to 23% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.